Major Arcana Tarot card number 6, The Lovers. As some of you know, that's not what we're looking at here. This is thought to be one of the oldest artistic representations of people actually playing the game of tarot. Reminder, tarot started as a fun, aristocratic card game. And we'll return to that to understand today's card. And this video series is called Tarot Historical Archetypes, so we will definitely get into that, but actually in the latter part of the video. First, I have to rant about the absolute worst thing in all of tarot, which relates directly to this card. Now, in this video series, I've talked about the panoply of images, the sequence of images in the Major Arcana, and how they trace out life events. Well, one of the things that happens to you in life, hopefully, is that you fall in love. So the inclusion of a card like this makes perfect sense, but if you look at the card, which I'm starting to zoom in on, you'll see there's 3 people, right? So a little complicated, but that was not actually the original arrangement of the card, so we'll talk about both and how and why it changed. I'll also do, unlike 100% of tarot websites and books, and point out that this card is responsible for a ton of scamming. First, here's one of the 2 very oldest surviving examples of the card. And yeah, you've got your 2 lovers, and then above them, Cupid with his arrow. Basically the same scene in the counterpart, quote-unquote original, or, as close as we get, card. So luckily these 2 are well preserved in museums. And we get it. It's pretty simple, right? Oh, look, love, lovers. And the early Renaissance aristocrats playing the game would be like, ooh, look, this card turned out to be in so-and-so's hand, so that means there's a new romance for them on the way. Here's the Marseille pattern for this card, which broke the pattern, as we talked about, but it became the standard for centuries. Funny enough, then, the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, which I've talked about plenty, the most popular one from the 20th century that became the modern standard by far, it actually harkens back to the original in the sense that there's only 2 people, and it's got all kinds of extra crap, because that's what all the modern occultists did when they kind of reinvented tarot. So there's an Adam and Eve type figure, and there's symbols all over the place if you look. And instead of Cupid, which had been a standard character on the card for like half a millennia, we have this huge majestic angel instead. And anyway, this is probably one of the most popular cards. It's fun to reinterpret. Here's a really awesome one, right? There's many variations on the "Till Death Do Us Part" spin on this card, and you can see how this template, the actual tarot template, is open to like a constant reinterpretation and fun takes. For instance, here's a merman and a merwoman in love. Or maybe it's 2 mermaids, one with long hair, one with short hair. Don't know. Here's my favorite version I found. How great is that? Kudos to the artist. Of course, that's copyright infringement, but, that might count as fair use. I hope it does. And now let's go back to the, fun aristocratic roots of this game. The original game was not a fortune-telling game. It was a competitive card game. It was the forerunner of bridge, as I'm sure I've mentioned before. But, in my opinion, seeing these images of fame, fortune, love, loss, death, life events, and the forces that were thought to influence life events, all of that lends itself to being used to predict, probably just originally in a very fun way, what's going to happen to you. And one thing people tend to be very curious about is their love life, right? If they're not with anyone, how long is it going to take before I find love? Is it meant to be with the one I'm currently with? I suspect this person is cheating on me. Are they? Wouldn't it be nice if you had some way to quote-unquote know? Enter the scamming. People long ago realized that this was by far the best way to make money with tarot cards, or really any divination object. So hey, me and my cards with my psychic gift can definitely tell you if he's cheating on you or not. I'm a gypsy or descended from gypsy, so therefore that plus my tarot cards means I can tell you how to recognize the love of your life when you meet him so you don't miss the opportunity. And just go on YouTube or TikTok and look up tarot readings. Like, they're all going to be these quote-unquote love readings. People long ago realized this is how to get eyeballs. And this one here, and I'm trying to not be mean, I'm not showing the creator, but it has 177,000 views, and supposedly this person, right, using the cards and recording a video without knowing who you are, and doing this simultaneously for all the different people that might watch this video who are all in different situations romantically, right? Don't worry, it applies to all of you. Just look at this gallery of TikTok tarot readings. What he wants you to know. 11,000 different people liked that video. Those are 11,000 different he's that these 11,000 different people were thinking about. How could it apply to all of those individual situations? Anyway, love message for you. All zodiac signs. Hey, it just doesn't matter. This applies to all of you. Here's another good one. They didn't expect you to respond the way you did. It triggered them. Well, obviously, if tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people see that, some of them are going to think, oh, that applies to my situation. Speaking of triggering, that's what this is all about. This person wants to talk to you, and then you hear the reading and whatever. It's triggering confirmation bias by just casting a wide net. And anyway, that's why I say the Lover's card is responsible for a ton of scamming. Tarot gets used, unfortunately, for scamming purposes, and it would whether or not that card was in there, but just that it has this image of romance easily lended itself to that purpose. Now, not all tarot readings are so cynical at all. This one here, for example, no, not the fact that it's free, because obviously, like drug dealers give away stuff for free at first. That's not what makes this one sound pretty decent, but if you read the description there, it's about processing where you're at, thinking through your situation. Here's a set of visual prompts that can help stimulate new thoughts, help you make new associations, because your mind is trying to think of your given situation while incorporating these prompts. It forces you to think in a way that you would not have otherwise. The cards can be a very useful accidental psychological tool if you're smart enough to not believe that a set of plastic cards can tell the future. And there's a scene in last year's Oscar-nominated Nightmare Alley that illustrates what I'm talking about really well. Gotta love Guillermo del Toro. But anyway, Bradley Cooper's character meets some scammers, right? They're professional scammers. They go from town to town and fool people, pretending that they're psychics. And Bradley Cooper's character is surprised when he finds out that the husband and wife team that I'm talking about here actually use tarot cards themselves privately in a serious way. Again, professional scammers, they don't believe in anything supernatural or psychic. And that includes these cards, but they find them a useful tool for thinking through situations. This is a screenshot from the movie, by the way. But getting back to our point, people don't want to think through situations and do work. They just want easy answers, and they want to hand somebody money to give them fake easy answers. That's why this meme exists in the tarot world. Even tarot readers who know that this is by far the most lucrative avenue get sick of people coming to them and wanting to know, is this relationship going to work out? We're fighting again. I want a reading about it, etc. Imagine it's a human romantic relationship. It's incredibly complicated, and whether or not it works out is going to depend on the actions that both people take. It's not written in the stars. But enough of that. Let's jump back all the way to ancient Greece for the major historical archetype on this card, at least the Marseille version, which again, most continuously used throughout history. We are looking at a painting based on a famous ancient story, Hercules at the Crossroads. An allegorical story, some say the original, I don't know about that, but maybe, which was then, millennia later, turned into allegorical paintings like this one here. There's Hercules in the middle, very buff, easy to pick out. Notice the cherub's holding his club, nice little touch, but anyway, he has to choose between these two ladies. But of course, each lady is a stand-in for something else, vice and virtue, just as in this case, Hercules is kind of a stand-in for us, for the everyman. Because in life, we have to make this same choice. In case you are wondering, vice is on the right and virtue is on the left. You can tell by the difference in clothing and modesty. Virtue's garb also denotes that that's the path of duty and honor. So that was the idea. It was a lesson about choosing duty and honor over pleasure and leisure. And the art around this subject became popular in the early modern era, right around the time when the Marseille tarot cards were created. And as I've touched on in this video series, the creators of tarot cards, the originals and later versions like the Marseille, they used obvious mainstream cultural reference points and artistic inspirations. The basic and obvious historical point I just made, by the way, is anathema to all modern tarot teachings, which insist that these things were all drawn up either out of a vacuum or from underground, esoteric, hidden belief systems. Here you can see in the genericized version of that tale for the card, our man is pushing away vice and leaning towards and looking at virtue. The hair versus headdress is all that's left to visually differentiate the two. It's not as obvious as in the past where, one was naked. or semi-nude, or whatever. Well, the other major historical archetype present in this card is obviously Cupid. Cupid has been a star since classical times, ancient Greece and Rome, so yep, we're back to that. In Roman mythology, Cupid was the son of Mercury and Venus, so in Greek terms, Hermes and Aphrodite. Cupid wasn't always a little baby, as we can see here. Yikes. That's Cupid and Psyche, of course. So Cupid in the card, the original cards and the Marseille version, whether it's 2 or 3 lovers, had Cupid aiming down with the arrow and obviously is going to help the couple fall in love, or in the case of the Marseille template, help the chooser make the right choice. Well, there is one more historical archetype present in the card, and it's pretty obvious. It's a pair of lovers, as seen in this piece of art here, Cupid and Psyche, like Romeo and Juliet, or Helen of Troy and Paris from the Iliad. Lancelot and Guinevere, history, mythology, whatever, replete with famous in-love couples. On the Arthurian note, Arthur, Guinevere, and Lancelot form a love triangle, which is also something that has fascinated, source of drama for stories, fascinated people forever, and the Marseille template touches on that. And that is the story of the Lovers card. Thanks for watching.